In this video, we'll take a look at SVG, Scalable Vector Graphics. These have been around for a while, and a scalable vector graphic is it's a vector file that's in a web page. So here I am in Adobe Illustrator, and these are Illustrator. This is just an Illustrator graphic. These are graphic components like we saw earlier, and they're all just vectors. And what we want to do is we want to be able to export these and then use them on the web. And the way to do that would be to export them as SVG files. Now, in asset export, let's see if I drag this. First of all, I have to group them. So group these, drag them into the asset export. And SVG is an option here, so I can do it this way. I can export that as an SVG here. You can also go to File, Save As, and in the Save As dialog box, in the Format dropdown, you can choose SVG. So I'm going to save this as, let's see, graphic.svg. And then when I click Save, this SVG Options dialog box will appear. So there's different types of SVG files, and some of these are add compression. I'm just going to use this file format. The type is SVG, the subsetting, systems, the image location, and then you'll see there's more options here, or less options. And then if I click on SVG Code, essentially an SVG file is a set of code that will describe with these parameters all the different elements, the colors, you can see polygon, path, and these are like radians and mathematical operations to describe how the path looks, and then it will be interpreted by the browser and then displayed in the browser. I'm just going to go ahead and click OK. So that saves my SVG file to my hard drive, and you can see here the SVG file is only 5K. It's really, really small. It's tiny, and you can see that it looks just like the vector graphic in Adobe Illustrator. Now, there's a couple different ways to embed this into a web page. You can embed an SVG into a web page just by putting in just the an image tag and setting the source to the SVG file, or you can take the code and put the code into the web page. So, for example, if I go and I right-click on this and I choose Open With, and I open it with my code editor, here's all the code for the SVG. I could copy all of that, and I could paste that into one of my HTML pages here, and I'll just paste it under here and save that. And then if I go into a browser and refresh, there's the SVG file. So the cool thing about this too is that because it's code, you can add things like classes to it. For example, if you can identify what the different parts are based on the artwork, if you add a class to these group elements, so these G tags or these path classes or this ellipse, you can then add animation to it. If you know anything about JavaScript, you can make it interactive. You can add like click functions and stuff like that to an SVG. So there's a lot of code here that it adds to the page, but the advantage is that it's completely vector. This is all vector, and it's all crisp, and it's going to remain that way. Now the scalable part of it is I click and drag, that's going to scale down, and it's going to retain its quality. So it's going to be as big or as small, and it'll always look good. There will never be any degradation in the quality of the image. And that's the strength of an SVG file. Most icons these days in website development are not PNG files, they're not GIF files, they are SVG files because of that fact. They stay crisp and they work on mobile devices. So that's the SVG format.